Welcome to the Daily Plunge. We are in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, starting at verse 13, through chapter 5, verse 10. Paul starts out by saying, quoting actually a Psalm 116, I believe, therefore I've spoken. Well, what has he believed? He actually mentioned this in the passage before. He believes that God has raised Jesus Christ from the dead, and just as he gave life to Jesus Christ, he's going to give life to us. And this is a key theology for Paul and for the church, is that we believe that God has conquered sin, death, and the devil, and that what God has done in Jesus Christ, that power is available to us now. And so he says in verse 12, we have the same spirit of faith because we believe, and therefore we speak, because we know that the God that raised Jesus Christ from the dead is also going to raise us up with him and give us life. And so he goes on to say in verse 15, he says, all this is for your benefit. And so that the grace of God would reach more and more people, so that the power of God's resurrection to take dead lives and make them new, or cause the thanksgivings to overflow to God. And you think about how many people that you know that where the faith has transformed their lives. And that really is the resurrection power of God, to take people who are spiritually dead and make them alive once again. Now he goes on in verse 16 to say, we don't lose heart. Even though outwardly our bodies are wasting away, inwardly we're being renewed day to day. You know, and I actually see this as a pastor. I see elderly folks who are getting stronger in their faith. Their bodies are wasting away, but they're preparing for their eternal life. And so in verse 17, our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. Here's the thing. God is not so concerned about your happiness as he is your character. God is training you for heaven. And the things of this world, they're not even going to matter to you at all once you're raised from the dead. And that's the thing, is as Christians, we need to have the long-term perspective, the eternal perspective, that the things we go through in this life, they're just momentary. They're going to go on. So we fix our eyes, he says, on what is, not on what is seen, but what is unseen. We fix our eyes on Jesus Christ and the promise of heaven, the promise of eternal life, because everything that we see right now, it's all fading. It's temporary. It's going away. What's unseen is eternal. So he goes on to say, we know that we live in this earthly tent and it's going to be destroyed, but we're going to live in a building that's from God, the temple that's eternal, our house in heaven. It won't be built with human hands. It'll be built by God. And so while we groan here on earth, we're longing for our eternal life. Now he talks about being clothed with heaven. Instead of living in this tent here, we're going to be clothed with eternity. And that's really what it is. It's about that eternal life that will come upon us when we're raised from the dead. Jumping down to verse 6. Therefore, we are always confident and know that as long as we are at home in this world, we are not at home with God, which is where our eternity is going to be. So we live by faith, not by sight. Oh, we love that phrase as Lutherans. We live by faith. And so we're confident that we're going to be returning to the Lord. And so we must make it our goal to live a life worthy of Christ, to please him, because one day we will all appear before him and we'll have to give an account for how we lived as God's people here on earth. We'll be saved by grace, but we're still going to be judged for our fruits. Have a blessed day.